Hi, this is Richard C. I'm a math tutor here at Wyzant. So I'm going to be solving a question submitted by a student. The student's probably taking pre-calc. This is a classic question from pre-calc. So let's just go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to copy it. 3 times the square root of 3 times the secant of theta plus 4 equals -2. So we're going to start by isolating the secant. I'll start by subtracting the 4. So this is going to give me square root of 3 secant theta is equal to -6. I'm going to divide by the square root of 3 by 3. Sorry, we'll divide by 3 first. So that's going to give me square root of 3 secant theta equals -2. Now I'll divide by the square root of 3, so the secant of theta is -2 over root 3. Okay, so far so good. Fairly simple. Just isolating, I'm sort of like peeling the layers of an onion. I'm just isolating that secant. It's -6, -2. Yep. Okay, now the secant, you're supposed to know that there's secant is 1 over the cosine. So this is really 1 over the cosine of theta equals -2 over root 3. And now we solve for the cosine. And the way we'll solve is we'll just take the reciprocal of both sides. So I'm just going to flip it on the left, cosine theta. I'll flip it on the right, and that's going to give me -√3 over 2. So we're getting pretty close to a solution. And now let's just take a look. So the cosine is negative in the second quadrant and the third quadrant. I'm just going to put a triangle in the second quadrant here. And it's adjacent, that's where you get the -√3 over the hypotenuse 2 here. So we just have to figure out what angle this is. So there are a few ways to do this, but most people who are taking trigonometry have been taught the unit circle at around this point in their preparation. We're supposed to be working in radians because they're indicating radians up here. So this is a 30-degree angle, but in radians it's pi over 6. That's our reference angle. This, by the way, would be a 1. This is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So even if you didn't learn anything about the unit circle, by now you should have memorized the special right triangles. So I'm going to put the 30, 60, 90 here just so that you have it. (30, 60, 90). So that's A, 2A, A√3. And you can see the cosine is adjacent A√3 over 2A. Okay. So there's also the angle in the third quadrant can also be negative. The cosine could be -√3 over 2, but there's a restriction on, let me show you why we can't have two answers here. because the next step is theta is the inverse cosine of negative root 3 over 2. And there are restrictions on the inverse cosine, which basically places the answer in the second quadrant but not the third. And so this is going to be pi here is 6 pi over 6. And so this angle brings you back up 1 pi over 6. So the answer is 5 pi over 6. All right, now we don't have the time to get into the inverse cosine, inverse sine, inverse tangent. That would be another lesson or two. So I'm just warning you here that there's one answer. You might think that there's two answers, but there's just one because of the way this is worded. Because we're solving this equation. Okay, so that's it for this problem. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.